Ladies and gents, welcome back. The federal government is sinking more resources into confiscating legally acquired firearms in this country than they are going after, well, illegally acquired firearms, ones that are crossing the border. But several provinces are fighting back against the federal government and their gun buyback, as they call it, confiscation scheme. We have federal court grants Alberta intervener status in legal challenge of firearms ban. So they're getting somewhere in this fight against this article from True North. The federal court of Canada has granted Alberta intervener status in 6 ongoing lawsuits against the Liberal government's firearms ban. In September, Justice Minister Attorney Tyler Shandro announced that the Alberta would seek to intervene on ongoing challenges of Ottawa's gun ban. The Canadian Coalition for Firearms Rights, CCFR, the lead case of all challenges, says the Alberta has been leading the fight to ensure Ottawa respects property rights. Well, we all know what they've been doing with property rights. They've been attacking it at all fronts, using emergency powers to go after political dissidents, protesters, and now they're actually trying to undermine property rights in British Columbia with unexplained wealth measures, where they could go after you with ask you, where did you get that stuff? And if you can't explain it to us, well, we're just going to take it away, and getting rid of the idea of innocent until proven guilty. And then, of course, going after, what do they say, Russian oligarchs. Going after Russian oligarchs is one thing, but they're actually dismantling property rights in the process. But fights on all levels here. Tyler Shandro takes to Twitter to put this out there. It's becoming increasingly clear that Marco Mendicino's firearms confiscation plan is falling apart at the seams. See my full statement. So here's the full statement here. Federal Firearms Confiscation Program statement from Minister Shandro. Last week, Minister Mendicino admitted that the federal government has still not figured out how to implement their firearm confiscation program. The omission comes shortly after the Canadian Association of Chiefs of Police called the federal government to not use the police services to confiscate firearms. Now, media reports have drawn attention to the federal government memo that outlines Minister Mendicino's plan to confiscate firearms across Canada. The memo admits that efforts to find private sector companies to implement the firearms confiscation program failed this summer. And here's an article here from True North as well. Mendicino says feds working with potential third parties on firearm confiscation. And this has largely to do with the fact that, well, so many provinces are saying, no, we're not going to put any of our resources into this. We have other things to do other than confiscate legally acquired property from the citizens of this country. This is just not the purview of the provinces and what they want to do with that. They'd rather protect their citizenry and not confiscate their legally acquired property. After 4 provinces said they would not aid Ottawa in confiscating legally acquired firearms, federal public safety minister Marco Mendicino now says Ottawa is working with potential third parties to implement its gun buyback scheme. Oh boy. With no private sector companies willing to participate, the memo outlines how the RCMP will first be deployed to Prince Edward Island, which has been deemed to be a easy, low-risk target. Sorry to hear that, Prince Edward Island, but it looks like they're coming after you first, and, well, they're going to use you as an example and basically a training grounds for firearms confiscation in Canada. The federal government is treating PEI as a pilot that will help them learn on the job as they implement their confiscation plan through trial and error. They don't even have a plan. They're just going in there haphazardly, just like their list of firearms in Bill C-21's new amendment, haphazardly just listing everything. We covered on this channel that they're banning the Buttmaster firearm, the Serbu Buttmaster, which is a one-of-a-kind firearm that will never be available on the market, but they just happen to find it in some federal registry of firearms and just haphazardly threw it on there, just in case you ever wanted to get your hands on a one-of-a-kind rectal concealed carry. It's unbelievable. This program is expected to cost billions of dollars more and has supposedly been in the works for 3 years, despite a mountain of money and years worth of lead time. Ottawa appears to be lost, especially given their latest attack on hunting rifles and shotguns. At minimum, they should proactively extend the amnesty that is currently scheduled to end in October 2023. Such a decision, however, would involve showing Canadian firearms owners a measure of decency, something that Minister Mendicino and the federal government is seemingly incapable of. Absolutely. It's unbelievable the moves that the federal government is making in this. And it's just, again, they're essentially banning all firearms in Canada. Like, let's not make this let's not beat around the bush on this one. We even had the CCFR's Rod Giltaca, I think is how you pronounce it, on the Andrew Lawton show, and he was laying out exactly the firearms that they're going to be going after.
So I guess for purposes of our discussion, all semi-automatic rifles and shotguns that are center fire that accept removable magazines, and that's probably around 2 million firearms that are now going to be prohibited if that amendment is passed into the bill, and the bill is passed through the Senate and receives royal assent.
So I'll leave a link in the description down below so you can check out that whole interview for yourself. Definitely recommend it. But we also had Rachel Danshow questioning Marco Mendicino in a committee and asking him just basically, it's unreal how much money they're willing to spend on, well, confiscating legally acquired firearms from Canadian citizens as opposed to what they're doing to fight gun crime, which is what they're actually trying to say that this is all about, getting guns out of the hands of criminals. But really all they're doing is going after the law-abiding firearms owners for which they own these things to hunt animals, or even in some cases sporting situations, right? People shoot guns for sports. There are Olympic sports around the world that Canadians may not be able to compete in because of these new laws.
According to Toronto police, guns smuggled in from the United States represent upwards of 9 out of 10 handguns used in crime. Do you agree?
Which is why we invested $321 million since last year and seized a record number of guns last year at the border.
During the 2019 federal campaign, the Liberal platform stated that your confiscation regime of firearms would cost between $400 and $600 million. Recent estimates put it upwards of $5 billion. That's considerably more money than you're investing in additional border protection. Is that correct?
Well, I would begin by saying that assault-style rifles have no place in our communities, which is why we want to implement a buyback program to get them out once and for all.
I think it is very concerning that.
Unreal. It's just, it's really, really hard to sit here and listen to these things. It's very frustrating because you never get a straight answer out of these individuals. But one thing that you can do, if you feel like you haven't been able to do anything in this fight, you can actually put your money where your mouth is. Here is the CCFR legal challenge. The CCFR is a nonprofit organization funded by you. Help us take this opportunity to truly make a difference for firearm owners across the country. We have embarked on the largest charter challenge on behalf of gun owners in Canada. The cost of this kind of legal action against the federal governments are massive. Remember, the federal government uses your money to fight these legal challenges to take away your property. We have to put our money where our mouth is, and they have an endless supply of funds to fight these cases. But well, no, not these nonprofit organizations. They don't have an they don't have an unlimited supply of funds to fight these charges. So you can read the federal court application we filed here. Again, I'll leave a link in the description down below so you can go check out this. But this is a donation page where you can go help the CCFR. They're also, you can pay with Google Pay, credit card, PayPal, I'm sure. Maybe not. PayPal hasn't been the best for things, but you can also do e-transfers. But definitely, if you want to contribute and you want to help out, there's the place where you can do that. But let me know in the comments down below, what do you think of this whole situation? Do you think it's going to go through? I know Alberta is doing their damnedest to lead the charge on this fight against the federal government coming in against, again, law-abiding citizens and their legally acquired firearms, of which they're trying to make virtually everything in the country illegal. I mentioned before that I think this is the penultimate step. The ultimate step would be to just make firearms completely illegal in Canada, under no exception where you would be able to own any of them. They're going after hunters. The one thing that they always said that they'd never go after, they're doing that now. Let me know in the comments what you think. And we'll see you in the next one. Keep on trucking.